A dog crying beside a baby. It's never random. Grace felt it in her bones the moment she stepped into her daughter Tessa's house. Everything looked normal, but the air felt heavy, tense. Before she could set her purse down, Ranger, the family's old German shepherd, came running. Not with his usual happy wiggle. He pressed his head to her legs, whimpering so softly it twisted Grace's stomach. "Ranger, what's wrong, boy?" she whispered, but he didn't look at her. His eyes were fixed down the hallway. Tessa appeared a moment later, exhausted, messy bun, dark circles, the new mum barely surviving look. She tried to smile. "Mum, thank God you're here." The baby monitor crackled. One tiny cry, and Ranger froze. His ears shot up. A sharper, urgent whine followed. Grace didn't realize it yet, but Ranger's cry was a warning. The storm was rattling the windows, and the whole house felt like it was holding its breath. Grace tiptoed around, trying not to wake Tessa, who looked wiped out. But Ranger wasn't chill. He followed her room to room like a shadow on edge. Every time they passed the nursery, he froze, staring like something in there was seriously wrong. Finally, Tessa got baby Ella back to sleep and collapsed on the couch, totally drained. Grace offered to keep watch, and for once, Tessa didn't argue. Grace settled into the rocking chair, eyes locked on the hallway. Ranger lay at her feet, but didn't relax, not even a little. He whined low, paced, came back, and stared again. Something about it made Grace's gut twist. Years in hospitals had taught her this feeling. When danger's near, you just know. Thunder cracked again, but Ranger wasn't worried about the storm. He was focused on something else. Something bad. About an hour later, baby Ella woke up screaming. Not just fussy whining, full-on, something's wrong, screaming. Tessa tried everything. Pacing, bouncing, soft singing, the whole exhausted mum routine. After what felt like forever, Ella finally drifted off again. But the second Tessa set her in the crib, Ranger stiffened like a switch flipped. His body went tense, ears flattened, and that low, shaky whine came back. This time, louder, urgent. "Ranger, chill, you'll wake her," Tessa whispered, grabbing at his collar. But he dodged her, circling the crib like he was pointing something out. He whined louder, trembled, refused to leave her side. Grace stepped closer, instinct screaming. "Tessa, look at him," she said low. "This isn't normal." "He's just freaked by the storm," Tessa snapped, wiped out, stressed. But Ranger wasn't listening. His cries got sharper, desperate, almost painful. He put his body between the crib and the door, guarding. Midnight hit, and the storm rattled the windows like they were about to cave. Ranger's whining suddenly shot up into a sharp, eerie howl. Nothing like his usual bark. The kind of sound animals make when they sense something humans can't. Grace's heart slammed. She bolted to the crib, every instinct screaming trouble, and then she saw it. Baby Ella wasn't moving. Not a twitch. Not even a tiny stretch. Her skin had this scary greyish tint around her lips. Grace's training kicked in before her brain could even catch up. Her hands were scooping Ella up, checking for signs. "Tessa, call 911, now!" she barked. Tessa froze, shock washing her face pale, but obeyed. Grace started infant CPR, fingers moving in the exact rhythm she drilled 1,000 times in hospitals. Ranger paced, whining, circling like he knew what was happening. Outside, thunder cracked again, matching Grace's panic, each beat hammering her chest. By the time they hit the ER, baby Ella's color had bounced back, CPR and oxygen working their magic. But Grace was fried. She stayed glued to her granddaughter while doctors ran tests. Then Dr. Randall Keene strutted in, clean white coat, pricey glasses, full I-know-it-all energy. He skimmed Ella's chart like he'd already figured it out. "Looks perfectly healthy," he said, smiling like a politician. "Probably just a sleep episode. Totally normal." Grace felt her blood boil. No. Babies don't just go blue for fun. Something's off with her heart rhythm. I've seen this before. The doctor's smile tightened. And you are? Her grandma, retired cardiac nurse, 30 years. Instantly, his tone turned patronizing. Well, sometimes grandparents get a little over-worried. Tessa, wiped out and scared, wanted to believe him, needed to. But Ranger, brought inside, started whining the second Ella hit the bassinet. Over the next few hours, Grace watched baby Ella like a hawk. Every time her color dipped even a little, Ranger cried. Every time her breathing slowed, Ranger paced. Every time her tiny pulse felt faint under Grace's fingers, Ranger whined louder. It wasn't random. The dog was picking up on something real. When Jonah, the paramedic who'd brought Ella in, came back to check, he noticed it too. Grace showed him her notes. Times, patterns, symptoms, everything. Let me see her file, he said quietly. 10 minutes later, he returned, frown deep. Records are missing, he murmured. Especially the EKG from the day she was born. Grace's stomach dropped. That wasn't an accident. Jonah held up a printed copy he'd found misfiled. Irregular heart rhythms, clear as day. Dr. Keene signed it off as Grace stormed down the hallway, the missing EKG clutched in her hand. She'd spent decades watching doctors hide the truth, and she wasn't about to let her granddaughter become another casualty. She found Dr. Keene at the nurse's station. You saw this, she snapped, slamming the paper down. You saw these abnormalities and did nothing. His face went pale for a beat. Then he recovered with a cold, tight smile. Where'd you get that? That doesn't matter. What matters is you ignored it. He glanced around, clearly nervous, then grabbed her arm and dragged her into an empty room. You need to calm yourself, he hissed. This kind of behavior is dangerous. What's dangerous is covering your mistakes, Grace shot back. Meredith, the hospital admin, appeared like a storm cloud. Mrs. Consincade, you're being disruptive. Keep it up and we'll escort you out. Grace held up the EKG. You're hiding the truth. Security moved in. Down the hall, Ranger howled, desperate, like the sky was tearing open. Grace sat alone in the dark, feeling like she'd failed. Her daughter, her granddaughter, even Ranger, who'd been trying desperately to get someone to listen. She replayed it all. Blue lips, weak pulse, missing records, Dr. Keene's lies, and still, doubt crept in. What if she was overreacting? Hours later, she heard Ella fussing, Tessa pacing, Ranger whining like he was losing it. Then, suddenly, Ranger's cries spiked into that same chilling howl from before. Grace shot up, heart pounding. Ranger went ballistic, barking at the windows, scratching the door, howling so loud neighbors flipped on porch lights. People ran over, realizing something was seriously wrong. Finally, someone got a signal and called 911. Grace didn't stop compressions. Couldn't. Her arms burned, muscles screaming, but she kept going. Jonah was first through the door, jumping straight into action. We've got her, he said, gently moving Grace aside. As soon as Mara hooked to the portable heart monitor, the screen lit up with chaotic rhythms, dangerous ones, the kind Grace knew too well. And Ranger? He cried 5 seconds before every rhythm spike. Jonah's eyes went wide. He's detecting them before the machine, he muttered. Every arrhythmia strip was recorded, sent straight to a top cardiac center. No more middlemen, no more cover-ups. As they loaded Mara into the ambulance, Tessa hugged Grace, sobbing, "Mom, I should have listened." Grace wiped her tears, but didn't look away. By morning, The new hospital had already analysed all the data Jonah sent. A full team of specialists was waiting. Mara was rushed straight into cardiac evaluation. Later, in a conference room, the evidence sat on the table. The missing birth EKG, the live arrhythmia strips, Jonah's notes, Grace's logs, documented alerts from Ranger Dr. Sarah Chen. Lead ethics investigator scanned every page with razor-sharp focus. Then Dr. Keane and Meredith were dragged in. Their confidence vanished the second they saw the mountain of proof. "Explain this," Dr. Chen snapped, holding up the original EKG. Keane stammered. Meredith muttered paperwork errors. But the truth was obvious. They buried a dangerous diagnosis to protect the hospital's numbers. Tessa burst into tears. Thomas shook with anger. Grace finally let herself exhale. Just a little. Back home, Grace, Tessa, and Mara settled into a quiet house. But Ranger didn't relax. He patrolled the nursery like a guardian, ears twitching at every sound. Grace kept a close eye on Mara, who slept peacefully now with the portable monitor still attached. Every beep, every tiny breath, Grace recorded. She refused to let anything slip. The storm outside had passed, but an anxious tension lingered. Every shadow, every creak of the house made Grace jump. Ranger growled softly at corners where no one else saw a thing. "Good boy," Grace whispered, kneeling beside him. "You saved her." Tessa smiled weakly, hugging her mum. Weeks later, Mara thrived. Every heartbeat strong, every colour perfect. Grace watched Tessa cradle her daughter, eyes shining with relief. Ranger lay nearby, ears perked, tail thumping lightly, his job finally done. He'd gone from ordinary family dog to full-on hero. Grace leaned back, finally breathing easy. The nightmares of the missing EKG, the lies, the near-death, they were behind them. Tessa laughed softly. "Mum, I don't know how to thank you, or Ranger." Grace smiled. Scratching Ranger behind the ears,